Hey everyone, welcome to the channel. Today, we're driving headfirst into a topic that, for me, is more embarrassing than the time my gynecologist told me that he's a fan of my work. We're talking about my deeply personal and toxic relationship with food. I mean, my affair with the refrigerator was so intense, it outlasted all four of my husbands. Coincidence? Maybe not. It was a love affair that almost single-handedly destroyed my life. Before the carnivore diet saved me, that is. So stick around, because I'm going to go over some of the most heinous food that almost took me down for good and talk about how we all got into this mess in the first place and how to fix it. Right here on the Carnivore Science Channel. Have you ever heard of the bliss point? It's the insidious little principle that flavorists use to engineer foods to be maximally rewarding to our brains. They hit this perfect trifecta of sugar, fat, and salt that sends our dopamine levels to the roof. And for me, this constant bombardment of hyperpalatable, scientifically designed deliciousness turned me into a lifelong food addict. A flavorist, also known as a flavor chemist, is a chemist who develops flavors for food and beverage products using natural and synthetic ingredients. Flavorists leverage their knowledge of chemistry and sensory science to create, modify, and match flavors. In a nutshell, their profession is to make garbage products to ingest that will make us all sick, fat, and addicted. I know what you're saying. You're like, damn, that's a little harsh, isn't it? Sure, might be, but it doesn't make it any less true. But I will say, to be fair, I too am a chemist, and for a large part of my career, I made products that made humans sick, fat, and addicted. Guilty as charged. Not food products, pharmaceuticals, and supplements, which is somehow worse. Some of the supplements were okay, but the pharmaceuticals? Nah. But back to food. The flavorists literally engineer the food so that you cannot resist eating it until you pop. Not kidding. Do you remember the Lay's potato chip ads from about a decade ago? And I don't think they still have these on today because they're way too transparent. They say the quiet part out loud. But the slogan was, Lay's, you can't eat just one. Because you really couldn't. You became addicted due to some really clever chemist who engineered it to be irresistible. But this bliss point is just part of the story. This type of junk food is even more sinister than that because it's not actual food. It's a concoction. It bypasses your normal response that controls when you start and stop eating. Leptin and ghrelin are hormones that play a crucial role in regulating appetite and energy balance. Leptin, primarily produced by adipose tissue, signals satiety and suppresses the appetite, while ghrelin, produced in the stomach, stimulates the appetite and promotes food intake. Essentially, leptin helps the body know when to stop eating, and ghrelin helps the body know when to start. By bypassing these satiety cues, you continue to eat and eat, stuffing yourself more than you would on, say, real food. When I speak of being addicted to food, I'm not talking about just liking food, even a whole lot. I'm talking about a genuine, can't control myself, hiding in the pantry at midnight level obsession. And even though going carnivore 3 years ago has been a game changer, no more epic nutty bar binges or waking up in a carb coma, I know deep down in my soul that the compulsion is still there. It's like a sleeping dragon just waiting for one little sugary snack to wake it up and send me spiraling out of control into the depths of food addiction again. Now, let's be honest. While a food addict can find ways to binge on pretty much anything, and I've seen it and I've done it, trust me, there are certain foods that are just way more dangerous. They're the supervillains of my personal food addiction saga. Today, I'm going to share my top 5 most terrifying foods. So let's get into this.
I am right behind you.
Oh, potatoes. Such an innocent looking vegetable, right? Wrong. For one, they contain toxic glycoalkaloids. But let's put that aside for a moment. I have memories, oh, such fond memories of those crispy McDonald's French fries. You know, back when they used to be made out of potatoes. I think they have a list of ingredients about a mile long now, and I don't know if potatoes is on that list. But I was a junkie for those things back then. But as an update, the good news is after a slip up recently, I realized that the French fry has lost its zeal for me. So I'm no longer tempted by those at least. But then there's mashed potatoes. Creamy, buttery clouds of carbohydrate goodness. I could eat piles and piles, even alone as a meal. But the real horror show, my friends, the Mount Everest of my potato induced Everest sized self was the grater tater. Picture this, an enormous baked potato the size of a small football. Now imagine it overflowing with chopped ham, rivers of melted cheese, sauteed onions, spicy chili, diced green peppers, and then the piece de resistance, gigantic dollops of sour cream and melted butter on top, cascading down the sides like a dairy volcano. Whew. I swear, I could eat until I exploded. The sheer volume I could consume was actually frightening. Oh, the ooey gooey goodness of mac and cheese. It sounds so wholesome. Comfort food. And it is, in the most sinister way possible. Whether it was that bright orange powder in the blue box, don't even get me started on the ingredients and that stuff, or a fancy homemade baked version of it, the results was always the same: the utter lack of control. That gooey, buttery cheese sauce clinging to those little starchy elbow macaroni, it was an almost orgasmic experience. The creamy richness, the slight chewiness of the pasta, my brain would just short circuit. Portion control? What the hell is that? The entire casserole dish was merely a suggestion for a single serving in my world. It was a cheesy, starchy vortex of addiction. Spaghetti with meatballs, another seemingly innocent family dinner staple that for me was a gateway to carb overload and sugary oblivion. Those giant piles of angel hair pasta cooked just past al dente so that they were dangerously easy to inhale. Already a problem. But then you add the meatballs, not just any meatballs, but breaded meatballs. They have a lot of breading in them. Extra carbs hidden within the meaty sphere. And then the sauce. That sweet, sugary red sauce that coats everything in a sticky, addictive glaze. I have fond memories of going to Olive Garden, always getting extra meatballs and extra sauce. I'm not exaggerating when I say that I felt like I would need to come up for air for days if presented with a giant plate of pasta. The combination of refined carbs, hidden breading, and that sugary sauce was just way too much. My willpower would evaporate faster than a puddle in the Sahara. Oh, cheesecake. And not just any cheesecake, but New York style cheesecake. That dense, creamy, tangy feeling, already dangerously addictive. But then you add the foundation of pure evil, perfectly crunchy crust made of crushed graham crackers, melted butter, and what I can only assume was a metric ton of sugar. This thick. And we're not talking about some dainty little sliver of cheesecake here. No, we're talking about 3-inch slab of pure indulgence. As if that wasn't enough, they had to go and smother it in those bright red, suspiciously artificial looking cherries swimming in a sugar-filled glaze made with red dye number 3. Enough said. My brain would see that cheesecake and just scream, "Abandon all hope, ye who enter here." It was a guaranteed binge waiting to happen. And now we arrive at the apex of all my food fears, my white whale, the one food that could always, without fail, send me into a spiral of sugary regret. Cream horns, my personal kryptonite. What is better than pure sugary buttercream icing? And I'm not talking about fancy buttercream made with real butter. Nope. This was the stuff of nightmares. It was confectioner's sugar, which is basically superfine sugar mixed with cornstarch, whipped with pure Crisco. It was cloyingly sweet, unnaturally smooth, and utterly addictive. Embarrassing sidebar here, I adored buttercream icing so much that I would go buy birthday cakes, not on my birthday, and I would scrape all the icing off and eat it, and then throw the cake away in the trash. The shame is terrible. But now imagine that unholy concoction of buttercream crammed into a flaky phyllo dough pastry, shaped like a little trumpet. These things came 5 to a pack at Walmart. 5. Within 1 hour of purchasing them, there were never any survivors. I would devour the entire package in a sugar-fueled frenzy, completely unable to stop myself. These weren't just a treat, they were a trigger. A gateway drug to more sugar, more carbs, and more self-loathing. The creamhorn pounds were real, guys. I swear I gained over 100 pounds partially due to chasing that specific sugary high. So, there you have it, my top 5 most terrifying foods and my top 5 most embarrassing secrets. For decades, I desperately searched for a way to lose the creamhorn 100, to escape the crippling grip of food addiction. I tried every diet under the sun, including low-fat, calorie restriction, and even full-on attempts at starvation. I wished secretly that someone would come along, lock me in an empty room with only water for about 6 months, so that once and for all, I could lose the weight that kept me a weird recluse hidden from the world, never really living. Unfortunately, I couldn't talk anyone in my family into becoming my jailer, so I tried every fad that came along. You name it, and I tried it, and failed at it. Every single time. But then, I found Carnivore. And honestly, after the initial sugar and carb withdrawal that I had to go through, which let me tell you was not pretty at all, something miraculous happened. The constant cravings, the overwhelming compulsions, they just started to disappear. It was like the volume on my inner food monster had finally been turned down. One of the greatest benefits of the carnivore diet for me was the silencing of those specific cravings for these hyper-palatable engineered foods. It was like my brain finally reset. However, and this is crucial, just like an alcoholic is always an alcoholic, once you're a food addict, you're always a food addict. That underlying tendency is still there. The good news is that with Carnivore, I've found a way to manage it, to keep that dragon asleep. It feels like 95% of the battle is gone, at least. So if you're out there struggling with food addiction and feeling hopeless, please know that you are not alone. There are a lot of people out there suffering with you. And don't give up. For me, Carnivore has been the answer. But remember, even on Carnivore, as a food addict, you can find ways to abuse any food. So vigilance is key. But trust me, it is a whole lot easier to stay in control when you're not constantly battling the engineered bliss of modern processed food. Thanks for watching, everyone, and let me know in the comments what foods terrify you. And if you're struggling with food addiction, there's hope. Just know that. Keep searching for what works for you. And don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more content like this. And hit that notification bell so that you don't miss the next one. Stay strong and stay mostly carnivorous. Bye.